Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Tina, and I'm the marketing manager for 79 Consulting. I handle core marketing activities such as increasing brand awareness, promotional campaigns, developing collateral, and lead generation. We have an exciting topic today to discuss, and that is bulk emailing of invoices and how our tool can help automate your dunning process. But let's go through a few things first. Throughout this webinar, we'll be walking you through a live demo in NetSuite. We'll be using a NetSuite test account, which may be a bit slower than you're used to, so please be patient with us. We have a chat feature where you can ask questions and we'll address them towards the end of the session. We're going to spend some time learning how invoices are sent in native NetSuite, as well as go through a couple of demos in a NetSuite test account. Lastly, I'd like to share a few pieces of background information pertaining to our company, 79 Consulting. You may know us by Twarna, which is still our brand name, though primarily used outside of the US. In essence, 79 Consulting is Twarna rebranded outside of India. So don't worry if this is your first time learning about 79 Consulting. We've actually been around for well over 12 years. We were founded in 2007 as a Salesforce and NetSuite consulting firm. And in 2008, we became a NetSuite solution provider. In 2014, we created our first suite app, SkyDoc, which is a storage solution for NetSuite. We now have over 8 apps on suiteapp.com and continue to provide support, managed services, and integration services for NetSuite and Salesforce clients. Let me now introduce our speaker for today, Rebecca Narrowdog. Rebecca is our NetSuite principal architect. With over 10 years of product experience on NetSuite and more on the business side, she's uniquely qualified to assist our clients with solving their most challenging business processes. Let's give a warm welcome to Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca.
Hey, Tina. Thanks a lot. Hello, everyone. It's nice to be here. I'm looking forward to showing you our Suite app for bulk emailing of invoices.
Let's now get started with today's content. We're going to be learning how to send invoices from native NetSuite, and we'll also go through a live demo of our Suite app bulk email invoices, or BEI for short, and how it can be used as a dunning tool. Over to you, Rebecca.
Thanks, Tina. So let's just talk first a little bit about emailing invoices directly out of NetSuite. So for NetSuite, emailing of invoices to your customers is a standard expectation from an ERP system. While NetSuite does provide a solution to email transactions to customers, without significant customization, it is limited to auto-emailing the transaction when the record is saved. NetSuite does allow you to manage email delivery manually at each transaction. However, this is a very labor-intensive process and is not a viable solution for most businesses. To configure the native transaction emailing and features in NetSuite, you have a few options, and we're going to briefly review them, and then I'll just show you some quick screens in NetSuite. So first off, on the customer record, you can set the customer's preference to receive transactions via email under the Preferences tab, and you can also set up a system-wide preference so that each new customer will be set to email as their preference upon the creation of the customer. You can control the delivery of each transaction before the first save. This is under the Communication tab on the transaction record. If the customer is set to email, then the transaction inherits the same value. On the transaction record, on the Communication tab, is the email address that will be used to send the invoice to. This pulls from the main email field on the customer record. You can enter additional email addresses here manually using a comma as a separator. Customization is required to pull in additional or different email addresses to this field automatically. Finally, you can assign custom email templates on the Email Message Template field on the user transaction forms. The default template is used if a custom template is not defined. The default template is controlled in setup. NetSuite does not have a way to control resending of invoices without additional customization. let's take a look at these basic settings in NetSuite.
Thanks for all that information, Rebecca. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to set up the demo in NetSuite. Now over to Rebecca to show us some basic configuration in NetSuite.
Great. Just 1 second, Tina. My system, this test account is giving me a little headache this morning. So let me get started here.
No worries.
So if you let me know, Tina, when we can see that NetSuite screen.
I see it.
Perfect. So let's start off first with just looking at the customer record. So here's a customer in NetSuite, and this is just a standard customer record. And if I look under the Preferences tab down here, then I can see that this customer is set to have all of their transactions sent via email. And if you'll notice, I don't have an email address on this customer, so let me put one on here really quick. So we're going to do test at, I'm very original with my naming conventions there. Just a fake email address. So I've already created one sales order for this customer, and let me go create another one really quick since I added that email address. So I've created a sales order for this customer, and under the communication tab, it's set to be emailed, but there's no email address there, and that's because I didn't have the email address entered when I first created this. So here's my second sales order that I created, and if I go down to the communication tab, I can see that my to be emailed box is checked, and it has pulled in that email address that we put on the customer record. This is the native behavior in NetSuite. As you can see, I can manually enter additional email addresses here, but I can't, the only thing it will do natively is to pull that email address from the customer header. Let me go back one more time and just show you, make sure we're clear on where we're pulling that from. So it's the email address that lives right here. That's what NetSuite does natively without any customization. And this field is a single email address, can be stored in this field, only one. So it's just a small limitation in NetSuite, even though it's nice. If you're B2C, this is very perfect. It's one email address and off you go. You can set it up so when that invoice is saved, it'll auto email to that email address. So then the other place I wanted to show you just really quickly is where to set the email address up per form. So, you know, you can have 2 or 3 different invoice forms. And along with being able to control the look and feel of the PDF that is generated from that invoice, we can also change which email template that we use based on the user form selected. So again, sorry, it's a demo account here, so it takes it just a second. After I show you this, I am going to show you where to set up that email preference so that all customers would be created with email selected. The idea is you want to set that value to, let me go ahead and navigate there while we're waiting. You want to set that value to what is your primary preference, and then you can go from there. So I'm under Setup, Company, and Email Preferences. I am logged in as an administrator. So I'm back on my invoice form. This is a custom invoice form, and right here under Email Message Template, it comes up with the default first, and then I can select any one of the email templates that I've already created in my account to be the default email template whenever this transaction is invoiced. Back to my global settings over here, I'm under Setup, Company, and then down a little ways to, sorry, before classifications, got a little happy, Email Preferences. And on this tab, now I would say that I can select what my default template is, and I can say client's default to email transactions. This would equal that checkbox under the Preferences tab where you have the option of email, print, or fax. If I check this box here, then all new customers I create will be set to email by default. This is the core setup for sending transactions emails to customers directly from NetSuite. Just a quick note, this configuration in NetSuite will email all transactions to the customer upon saving, which includes opportunities, estimates, cash refunds, cash sales, credit memos, return authorizations, along with invoices. So if you are using any of these transaction types and do not want them to be automatically emailed to the customer, you will need a custom solution. Tina, back to you.
Now let's talk about bulk email invoicing, or the BEI Suite app. What is it? BEI is our Suite app that gives you the ability to email invoices in bulk from one place, as well as schedule dunning emails at your desired frequency. BEI removes friction and pain from the collections process, improves customer experience, and shortens time to cash.
Right, Tina. So what we have found after working with hundreds of NetSuite users is that most businesses have requirements more complex than auto-emailing every transaction to a single email address. The BEI Suite app allows you to manage the delivery of invoices using various filters and template control, as well as automating a dunning process to improve collections. To satisfy NetSuite user requirements to easily and automatically send invoices to their customers, we've built the Suite app to do the following. First off, you'll have the ability to send multiple invoices into a single email. An example of this would be a customer with 5 invoices. NetSuite will send 5 emails. The feature in our Suite app allows you to send one email with 5 invoices attached if that's your preference. If you do want it to still send 5 emails, we can do that as well. Users can send an email to multiple email addresses. This is a common request in NetSuite, which requires customizations. All you have to do with the Suite app is populate the addresses on the customer record before you create the transactions, and then that will auto send to those email addresses. We do give you control if you're manually running the app, instead of scheduling it, to modify those email deliveries as needed. Additionally, users will have the ability to manage follow-up on open invoices. This can be done manually by reviewing open invoices, or can be scheduled to run automatically based on criteria you set up. The nice thing that this does is now you've got auto dunning. So if you have invoices that are 30 days past due, you can send an email template asking for quick payment. If it's 60 days past due, you can send a different email template that just has stronger words, and so on and so forth. There are 4 steps for that dunning process, 4 different phases. An often requested feature is sending the statement with an invoice in a single email. Our Suite app allows you to do this with a simple click of a preference. NetSuite does not allow you to do that. Even with automation, it's pretty difficult to send a PDF invoice and a statement in the same email. We can take advantage of the power of email templates in NetSuite to control the look and message of the invoices sent manually and those that are scheduled. So everywhere in our Suite app, we allow you to pick the email template that you want to use. These are the standard native email templates. You can use nice HTML, control the look and feel of the invoices.
All right, bear with us, audience, while we swap screens. In a little bit, Rebecca is going to take us through a live demo of the bulk email invoices Suite app.
Perfect, Tina. Just one second here. I think I'm getting better at this switching screens things. Great. Let me know when you see my email, my NetSuite, excuse me.
I see it.
Perfect. So let's start. Let's just go straight into the email app. We have a role specific for using this Suite app. It's called BEI AR. So this AR role, excuse me, doesn't necessarily have permissions to create invoices or edit invoices, but we want them to be able to send emails. So we've created a role that gives them the required permissions for that. So we start out first here. We're going to run a search to tell us what invoices we want to email. So the first thing is to define the filters on the search. So we could say, I want to look for just one customer. If that's your world where you're dealing with one customer at a time, you can define the customer you want to send to. You can also control or select your subsidiary. The same with department, class, and location. These are just standard filters that we're all aware of in NetSuite, and we can use those on the search. Additionally, we can use dates. So I can say, I want to send all invoices from the beginning of time. So I'm going to do 01/01/1999. So I want to see all invoices from forever through today that have a due date of today as well, right? So now I've, a due date on or before today. So if I had any invoices that were created yesterday that are not yet due, this assigning the due date here would exclude them from my safe search. So again, these are transactions from date, transaction to date, and then I'm also using another parameter to say I only want to include invoices that have a due date of today or before. I have a few other checkboxes I can set over here. I can say only show me open invoices. I can say show me who the parent customer is. If we're using a parent-child hierarchy for customers, this is nice. I could include credit memos. So let's say I want to send credit memos as well. I could include that. Excluded invoices, I want to show excluded invoices, or I want to see what I've emailed in the past. So let's just talk about these last two. We have the ability with our tool to say, I don't want to email invoices to, let's say, a certain customer. So first of all, let's run our search to see what comes up based on the criteria we have right now. So I just clicked the search button and I'm waiting for it to populate. And if I scroll down, I can see that I have 129 pages. It's a lot of information. So let's see, did I say show only open, show only email? So let's take a look here. So it's pre-selecting some things for me. So now I can see what my original amount was, what my due amount or open amount is, and the status of my invoice here. So this line does not have a checkbox on it by default because there's no email address to send this invoice to. So I can either just skip it, or I could add an an email address manually here and check the box. So let's go through. So let's say that I'm going to unmark all. Nice feature here. I'm going to unmark all, and let's say I want to exclude anyone that doesn't have an email address. I'm just going to scroll down here really quickly. I don't see any more quickly just with no email address. So I'm going to say I want to exclude this one. I don't want this one to keep showing up in my form. I'm communicating with this client another way. So I have checked it, and now it's action. So what action do I want to take based on what I've selected here, right? Manisha Enterprises, I want to exclude the selected invoices. So I'm saying that I want to mark that invoice to be excluded so it's no longer shows. So I'm going to check the exclude selected invoices, and I'm going to say process. What this is going to do is going to put a checkbox on that invoice that it will in the future be excluded from any generation of my bulk email invoices page. This is a really nice way if you communicate with clients in different ways. Some clients don't want emails and you don't want to have to remember over and over to not send it. You could just exclude them this way, and then you don't have to worry about it in the future. And I'm sorry this is taking a minute. It's our test account here. So the next thing that we're going to run through, there we go. So now that we are done with that, so now I'm going to run a new safe search. I'm just going to start fresh just so I can be really clear. Customers, sales, bulk email invoice. I get a new page. You can see that everything is reset here. I'm going to set my due date again. Now I want to say show only excluded invoices, right? So instead of seeing every invoice, I want to see what I've excluded in my search. So I'm just going to run my search button here. let's try one more time. I should see my minutia invoice that we had just excluded. Show only excluded invoices. I'll have to work on that one. This is, I don't know. Oh, it was the date because I did it from the beginning of forever first. So that must have been an old invoice that I was seeing there. There we go. So I have several invoices that have been excluded, including the one that we just processed a few minutes ago. So there's my date, 5/30 of 2017. All the filters matter, right? It defaults pulls up for created in the last 30 days. Okay, so now let's say show only open invoices, and I'm going to pull this back a little bit and just do the last 3 or 4 months. So from September 1 of 2020 through today, where the due date is today, and I want to show only open invoices. I don't have any credit memos, but I could check that box anyway. And now I'm going to run my search again and see what I come back with. I got one. I wonder if somebody deleted my invoices. This is a demo account. A lot of people are in here doing different things. So here I have an invoice from November of 2020 that is for $100 with an open amount of $100. So now I would be able to say, I want to send this email using my, hold on, let me find it here, my invoice template. It's just my first invoice email template. And then I would select the one or the many invoices that I want to send. If I had 3 invoices for the same customer, I could say send multi-attach here. This is what would send one email with the 3 invoices attached. And I can include a customer statement that is only for open transactions or just a standard statement. And off I go. And when I make all the selections of what I want, how the actions I want to take against this invoice, then I would hit process. So I don't know if y'all read that message. So it's telling me invoices without email addresses are not considered for sending. So let's go ahead and manually, let's just say I know what email address I want to send this to. So I'm going to put that in, and then I'm going to process again. And now it's going to send my email. And this is going to run, and what it's doing is if I had 100 invoices selected, it would be queuing up all 100 invoices, emailing them individually. This behaves just like an email if you're sending an email from the transaction itself. So it's going to send one email to all of these email addresses. It's going to use our email template. It's going to have a PDF attached. One of the nice things that it does as well is it tracks the invoices that were emailed in this batch. So I can go to the customer or to the transaction just like everywhere else in Native NetSuite and see the email message that was sent, who it was sent to, who sent it, when they sent it, and any attachments that were sent along with the email. Talking my way through this here. So let's go and let me run this search one more time so I can. So let's take a look. We're going to see who we've emailed. I'm going to do a search to say, show me only invoices that have already been emailed. This would let me see what I have done in the past. So here I can see the different emails that I have sent to, emails that I've sent. So if I go into any one of these, and I'm going to pull up the customer record here. So let's say I've emailed these and they are, they're past due at this point. So now I could filter out and I could go through and only select my ones that were still open. And then I could send them an email template that's follow up or 30 days past due, something like that. This is doing all this manually. So you have very granular control over how the tool is working to send your email addresses. So I'm back over here on the customer. I'm looking at the communication tab, and under messages, I can see that an email was sent regarding this sales order. right? Or an invoice, here's my 30-day overdue. So I can see that it was sent from there. I can also navigate through to the actual invoice, and I can see the email on the invoice itself. So again, I would look at the messages tab here, and I could see that the invoice was sent with an attachment. I can also look at the bulk email invoice tab in NetSuite, and I can see that I sent this in 2 separate batches. These are the dates that it was included in and the number of invoices included. So I have a lot of granular detail here to see what I've already sent. Great. So this is how you manually control it. Again, it's customer, sales, bulk email invoice tool, and this is our page where we are still in bulk, but manually sending the email addresses. We also, let me switch roles here over to, I have to have a different role, an administrator role. Now I'm still in my same account, but now I'm going to go and I'm going to set up the scheduled email. So I would come over here to bulk email invoices, configuration page. Now here is where I can automate. This is where it gets really nice. So I can say that I want to say 10 days before an invoice is due, and again 5 days after an invoice is due. So this would be in sending an email, right? 10 days before, 5 days after, and I'm going to use this email template, and I want to exclude partially paid invoices. So if it was $1,000 and they had paid $700, I would not email again as new, even though it is basically a new invoice. We know that the system has paid part of it, and we're saying to exclude that. You can uncheck that, so now it's going to send everything that's open. We're going to just bypass. This is consolidated invoice related configuration, and this is if you're using the Suite app consolidated invoices. If you are and you want to utilize this tool, please reach out to us and we'll walk you through the specifics for that. The other thing that we can schedule down here is follow-up. So now I can say, how frequently do I want to follow up after the due date? I can choose daily, weekly, monthly, or quarterly. And then I have level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. So if I have this set to daily and my invoice was due on January 10th, on January 11th, it's going to send my 30-day email. Well, I would need to configure my past due and my email templates, but it's going to send an email on January 11th, on January 12th, on January 13th, and January 14th. Typically, we would do this a little broader, right? So we would say we're going to send it weekly, and then we would have appropriate templates to set up to match that. So this would be 1 week, 7 days past due, 14 days past due, so on and so forth. And we can control all this. Now the threshold amount says, I don't want to send an invoice to a customer who owes less than $500. So let's say I deal in, my invoices are typically tens of thousands of dollars. $500 might be a write-off or a dispute, and I do not want to send those. I can also say, do I want to include a statement for only open transactions, or do I want to include the standard customer statement? And then I've got a statement range of how many months do I want to include in my statement. If you think about what the customer statement page looks like, you have a date range to include. This is similar to that. We just have selections to make 1 month, 2 months, last quarter. And then when you submit this, it will save this configuration settings, and then there is a script that runs every day, once a day at midnight by default, that goes in and looks at your open invoices and evaluates against this criteria, and then auto emails invoices that meet the criteria that you have set here. That's scheduled to go at midnight by default. Again, if you have the tool and you'd like it to go at 2 a.m. or 6 a.m., we can make that change for you. Just reach out to the team and they can change the schedule of that script. So then the last thing I want to show you, let me jump back over to the BEI AR role, is I want to show you the home page. So we have some reporting here, and the idea, again, bad data, test account, right? But the idea is to show you how your invoices are performing. So this is your customer average overdue days after they've been sent an invoice, right? And this is your overdue days before you started sending invoices via the BEI tool, weighted average, so on and so forth. We have total follow-up amount, so we can see how invoices that we sent for follow-up is these amounts with a total, so we know what our open follow-up balances are. And then again, just some additional reporting to see open balances and the max number of days open. These reports are all just standard custom portlets in NetSuite. You can build to these or change these as you see relevant. This compares a before and after, and again, test environment, so I just don't have good data in here. But the idea is to let you see how your AR is improving after you started using the BEI tool, as well as just seeing what your follow-up values are. So Tina, I think that is the bulk of the tool.
I'd like to give a big thank you to Rebecca for walking us through native NetSuite and demoing BEI. And finally, to wrap up our session, I want to touch briefly on our Suite app quality assurance. NetSuite has 2 version upgrades every year, during which you can reach out to us to request new features for your 79 consulting Suite apps. If we receive enough requests, we incorporate these features into our product roadmap. We also conduct pre-release testing for all our Suite apps and provide you with a release preview account to test your new features. So please don't hesitate to contact us if you have any feature requests. I'll now leave you with our contact information should you have any questions. We have team members all over the world to help facilitate your needs. Thank you once again, and goodbye for now.